Hello, and welcome to Hearts of Iron Old World Blues, The Lost Expedition. Our journey began in New California. Rumors had arisen of a city to the east, not Vegas, further, a city of advanced technology. We followed the Colorado, past the Mojave and Vegas's bright lights and the Great Wall of Hoover Dam, through the Grand Canyon. As we traveled east, we kept facing Caesar's Legion, our numbers slowly dwindling, but eventually, pushing far into the wasteland, we would find our destination. Dog City, formerly Denver. It had become a cesspit of raiders. Soon, our men began to die by the thousands as we were forced north. We would come to settle in a region known as the Houndlands, and soon, unbeknownst to us, we would find the research lab known as Boulder Dome. So, this is the Lost Expedition, a submod of Old World Blues that massively expands this little faction. I'm gonna go ahead and start getting some things ready, and I want to address one thing real fast. I already talked about this with the Twitch chat, but for YouTube people, where is the Vault-Tec run? I've lost it. If you've been following me on Tumblr or Discord, you would know that I've recently had serious computer troubles, and I sadly was unable to save my saves, so we're gonna have to start a new run. I like to believe that Vegas would have continued to grow. Vault City would have continued to grow in power, though, if left to their own devices. I was able to get these mods working thanks to Tyrant King, who's in chat right now. He was just guiding me through. My initial install would have had some serious troubles getting things working, but he told me what to deactivate to make sure I wouldn't have problems. You won't spoil anything, but you'll say you feel that. I will say you feel have a history with the Sleepers Nation, east side of the Great Khans. Okay. Yeah, I imagine that we're gonna have. I don't know a lot, but I'd like to believe that their whole entire story is gonna really heavily revolve around crawling back up the Colorado. Because I feel like that might make sense. At least that's the story we're gonna go for, trying to get back home. Come on. The Colorado expedition set out from New California Republic a long time ago. I hardly cared to count how many years have passed since we got stranded here. Did we at least start our journey more than 20 years ago now? Yeah, so this group is very heavily based around Fallout Van Buren, the unreleased Fallout 3 from the original Fallout developers. And we're gonna see, I feel like, a lot of that with things like Boulder Dome and such being involved. Let's train this and this. Sorry if my voice sounds off, but it is freezing cold and I'm literally ooh, excuse me, a little bit of hiccup there. I'm literally shivering. Motorized vehicles and support equipment needed. We don't got enough factories, so we'll need to. Let's cancel the construction in Sydney and replace that one with this. Let's get all of our soldiers assigned to some new generals. It looks like we've already got a few in place. This guy's addicted to chems. I saw that a moment ago during the initial setup. Alright. And for now, we're going to set our guys on area defense. Let's go ahead. Oh yeah, so another one of the submods I have. Oh yeah, let me read all those off for the people on YouTube. I've got a big old list of submods. I've already set a number of them to the people on Twitch. But for this run, we have Balefire Blues Music, Eden, Houston Rockets Tree Restored, Texas DMC PSK SZ CAS. It's a very long abbreviation. Pale Folk, Violet's Iron Alliance, Age of Steam, The Exile, Blood and Whales, Expanded Minor Ideas, Lost Expedition, New Vegas, A Man and His Girls, WBH/HEA, New Interactions with Rot, Puppet Names Plus, Chemalt Expanded, Expanded Formables, New Victoria Expanded, Vault City Expanded, Raider Robots, and Reno Mod. The combo of submods I'm using, my main enemies will be Iron Alliance, Hound Dogs, and Black Canyon. Alright, good to know. Yeah, unlike the Vault-Tec run and like the House run, where we were relatively unopposed within our area, we're gonna be fighting tooth and nail right from the get-go here. But one of the mods I had mentioned, oh no, that's right, I deactivated that mod after testing. There was a mod I had that would have changed how scientific advancement worked, but I deactivated it because it came with a lot of other things that I didn't like. Oh, I forgot that I deactivated that, so we're just going to be stuck with whatever levels of tech advancement we have already. Oh, we can get to full level electronics. That's actually, we aren't too bad in terms of advancement. Yeah, I loved the way it handled science. I forget what it's called, but it would have made a whole entire thing in here to advance your science differently. But it came with a bunch of other things that I felt like sort of broke the game a little bit. Alright. So, I think we're done with our initial setup. Let's go ahead and let time start passing. It would have conflicted with Age of Steam. Oh, okay, good to know. But yeah, so these guys are likely going to be expanding, trying to eat us very soon. As are the Ouroboros, both squeezing in on us. Dog City in the long run could potentially be a major threat, being old enemies of ours. But the Sleeping Giant, the real threat that we are going to be living in fear of, is Lanius. He's going to be trying to conquer almost the entirety of the East, and I don't remember if we're actually on his hit list or not. We are surrounded by enemies. We are in a very tense situation. Basically, this series is either going to be over very quickly, or it's going to be a impressive battle to watch. I feel like I've gotten good enough at the game that I can play a more combat-focused faction now. I've already done this. The Colorado Expedition. The Colorado Expedition set out slightly over 20 years ago. One of the last initiatives of the last President one of the last initiatives of President Tandy. I, Dr. Goddard, leading a few dozen scientists and 3 battalions worth of NCR troopers, under the command of General Caldridge. Over the course of a few months, we made our way to Boulder Dome in Colorado. So real quick, to touch on the actual Van Buren lore, the expedition in Van Buren was actually specifically sent to Denver, and had been stuck there due to things, but this guy sort of pushes, this and just Old World Blues in general, push them a little further north to the area where Boulder Dome would be sitting in lore. The expedition was cursed from the very first second of its inception. It has been plagued by ego-driven infighting and tragic accidents. Through our journey, we made a stop at Hoover Dam and briefly studied the electronic capabilities of the miraculously still functioning generators. Fun fact about real-life Hoover Dam, it will likely be the longest standing structure in the world. If all of humanity disappeared today, Hoover Dam would stand longer than anything else, at least in theory. Even the Great Pyramids would be lost to the sands before Hoover Dam was eroded away. I wrote a paper on how to further repair it, though I'd be astonished if anyone back in Shady Sands read it. As someone who studied Gecko's power plants before it, it was more or less a routine job, but it was one bright spot in an otherwise tiring journey. I also discovered the wreckage of an old bomb station, O2, the Grand Canyon, in the Grand Canyon, and left a small team to further investigate it. Traveling on a ship on the Colorado River up north, and after a short trip to Denver, or as they now call it, Dog City, we traded with and were resupplied by the local scavengers. We headed to the Dome. Since then, our numbers dwindled to extreme levels. Our brief occupation of the Dome only brought us a handful of resources to our camp, which we survive on. I cannot remember it now. Larson, what did we save from the Dome when the accident happened? Also, what is that? Lanius won't come after us. Only will if the Iron Alliance joins the Legion. Okay. We saved a handful of already repaired generators. Or we hauled as many raw scraps as we could find and carry. Well, we don't have a lot of scrap, but generators are the ones that are going to take more time for us to research. I feel like generators would have been the smart thing to grab in an apocalyptic setting. Presper's legacy. There was he, smug and looking older than time itself. A brilliant mind, a great visionary, a dangerous lunatic. Victor Presper, a stain on the wasteland and our history. The team in the Grand Canyon is the Sleepers. Oh, they're a group that's always been there, aren't they? Did this make changes to them? No, okay. Is the Sleepers a thing from actual Fallout lore? Because I know the Grand Canyon was a big focus of both New Vegas' Honest Hearts DLC and would have been a focus of Van Buren back in the day. Because Van Buren would have carried on the legacy of fitting a massive amount of space into a small game, with Denver being the upper right corner and Hoover Dam being the bottom left, but Vegas not actually being part of its map. It would have focused on what was the first draft of the first Battle of Hoover Dam. Well, actually, it would have focused on a totally separate plot, and that would have just been a background element going on. Van Buren is a very cool game if you look into it. It would have been awesome if it came out. Also, check the NCR National Spirits. We have a shared national spirit. I'm guessing it might be a handful of Republic or something. Oh no, well, let's read this real fast. The legacy of Victor Presper. What we found in the Dome was nothing short of astonishing, and I'm not referring to the scientific miracles of the Dome itself. What we found was a man from the old world. A man who slept through all the ages in a cryogenic freezing. And now infamous and utterly loathsome Victor Presper. With his massive ego, short temper, and incredibly disturbed mind, it was hard to believe that this man was once known as the smartest man in America. His brilliance was unquestionable. Even when his gluttony for knowledge and his lunacy kicked in, I cannot take that away from him. No, I'm not jealous. Our arrival awakened him and his similarly frozen companions, whom were surprisingly high in numbers. We tried to cooperate with them at first. And, sorry, I just lost my place. Hang on, sneeze. Excuse me. Where was I? We tried to cooperate with them at first, and the short time that we spent together was productive, to say the least. On the face of it, it was a marriage made in heaven. We had resources and practical know-how. They had pre-war scientific knowledge. I learned a great deal, and we got into a lot of arguments about theses, theories, and other egg-headed stuff I don't want to confuse with. It was just like back in the academy in the NCR, and nostalgia like that can warm up an old man's cold heart. Then, just to quote the security chief, everything went to shit. Indeed, everything went to shit. Presper, from the very first moment that we had met, had his own ideas. Secret research and lunatic theories about life and other conditions of the wasteland. He was scheming something in the shadows, and after a few weeks, presented his conclusion to us. He wanted a clean slate. Kill everyone who he deemed unworthy, imbeciles, a lower life form, or whatever, our people, and more. Of course, we resisted. And not only us, but a couple of his formerly frozen colleagues were... Sorry, lost my place. Colleagues as well. There was some shouting, some begging, and some firefighting. Lots of bodies dropping dead. We were lucky that we somehow managed to survive and could evacuate from the place in time. And we didn't lose too many researchers. Our military escort units were heavily, but they were easily replaceable. I feel like there's a missing word there. Sadly, we also lost some important engineers and scientists, and not only because of the fighting between us and Presper, we lost some of them because Presper's speech. Zion and a couple more went with Victor. Traitors. I believe Zion is a director now, and taking command over a little team we left at the Grand Canyon. I hope she gets what's coming to her. Presper, his name may be cursed, took a lot from us. But in our short peaceful time when we worked together, we learned from him, as well. Like, oh, where did I put my notes? Electronic and communication devices, or robotics for menial work and combat alike. Also, what's that message? After you read the NCR National Spirits, you'll understand why your people are so weak now. Alright. Let's go with electronics and technology, because then I can go further down electronics and make our research go faster. So what does the NCR have? Colorado resources. Oh, they took our shit. Goddard and his expedition continued to send us supplies from the Boulder Dome. While it's disappointing that most of the research we were after isn't present, at least we're getting some technical documents. And then meanwhile on my side, is it Handful Republic? One of these, I don't know. The idea is that a lot of the technology we got was sent off to them. Oh, you would have suggested robotics? I'm sorry. I mean, I personally believe that the electronics one is more important because that can help me get down this line faster, which will make all research go faster. The moment we get a Zax researched, robots are just gonna zip by on discovery. Boulder Dome. Boulder Dome would have been such a cool dungeon in Van Buren. If you read the design documents of Van Buren, they had sort of learned their mistake in the shitty dungeons of Fallout 2. Because anyone who's played Fallout 2 knows that oh my god, excuse me. Know that its dungeons suck. The fucking... The dungeons in Fallout 2 are like, here's a massive maze with a million enemies, throw your guns at them. It's not very fun. A lot of the bigger dungeons are a fucking slog, especially when you compare it to Fallout 1, where many of the few dungeons they had a lot of alternate routes through, where you could talk your way around or sneak through. Van Buren had a design philosophy that I want to see crop up more in games. Every dungeon had to have 3 paths. And those were Combat Boy, Stealth Boy, and Smart Boy. Every dungeon either you could fight your way through, talk your way through, or sneak your way through. And that's like, sneaking includes things like lockpicking. Oh no, Smart Boy, it was also it was either talking your way through or hacking your way through with technology, and like, Van Buren would have had so many cool elements. I'm getting sidetracked though. The Boulder Dome was a work of wonders. The technology that resided in it and equipment that survived the centuries in the nuclear-proof dome were incredible. Something that everybody should want for himself. So who are our neighbors? We've got the luminous ones. That's terrifying. And the Great Glowing One. The Necromancer, also known as the Great Glowing One, is an intelligent glowing one who has an obsession with making every human being into a ghoul. He sees ghouls as superior to any other and believes anyone should be showered with the Great Glow. Okay, so a cult of ghouls. Yeah, he suggests, we'll see what path I go down. I kind of want to feel it out myself for my first run. We got the Wither Dogs. Okay, it feels like there's not a description there. The Hound Dogs will be put down. Old Dog remembers his old home in Denver. He spends a lot of time trying to keep it pristine after the war. And even attracted a following of ghouls in the city. When bores his teeth, so he's been pushed out of Denver by the fucking the Hound Dogs and wants to get his home back. Okay. We got these guys. Let's see. Yeah, Chinese paratroopers. Yeah, I know this one. A bunch of Chinese paratroopers that have just been living here now. We only have two paths for the nation, and you suggest the ghouls when comparing the two. Good to know. Was part of a military group meant to... So it looks like these two separated for one reason or another. Guilt over Denver. Those people, they didn't deserve what we did to them. They were panicking. They were just... Oh god, that's so sad. So yeah, we got an interesting bit of plot going on here. The schism has broken between those who want to force communism on residents of the Waste and those who want to work with the Wastelanders, regardless of what they want. Okay. I wonder which one is the commies. I like that. This is such a cool idea that is kind of explored in Fallout 3, but I would love to see explored more. A group of ghouls that were Chinese invading forces that are alive to this day. That would be so fucking cool to see explored more. So we've got old Chinese armies over here. A glowing cult. Basically a group of friendly... Well, maybe not friendly. A group of ghouls from before the war who've just lived here. Boulder Dome over here has more ghouls. Lots of ghouls here. The glow bugs. Patches has a comedy night for everyone. Oh yeah, I think I've read these guys in the past. They're like a little Reno, essentially. They've got like... they're like they got comedy people. They're very like friendly group, but they're also a little like standoffish raidery at times. Black Canyon, I believe, is just like a fucking a big old tribe that has gotten huge and strong. Alright, what are these guys? Are they just raiders, or... A massive colony of spore carriers was released from the Greenway Hydroponics agricultural facility. Comanche settlers. Mercenary occupation. So these guys have got a lot of internal problems going on. Oh, they got a bunch of supplies too, though. Liberty is the daughter of the Colorado warlord who calls himself Pet and she is determined to bring her father to his knees and rule Colorado for herself. Okay. Anyway, let time progress again. So we've got a bearing on who's around us. Lots of ghouls, lots of raiders, some commies. The Boulder Dome. Boulder Dome. Oh, wait. Well, you can either invite ghouls or exterminate. We're probably not going to exterminate. We'll see what the exact events are once I read it, of course. Of course, as the goal of the expedition was always centered about Boulder Dome. Actually, I believe in the original Van Buren, their goal was specifically Denver, not Boulder Dome. But that's just a tweak these people have made. I'll have to talk about it as well, won't I? So be it. I only could study it for a couple of weeks, but it was glorious. Standing tall over a dead city, proud and unshaken, radiating with a mysterious green light. Alright, the last was a poetic overstatement, but even the radioactive danger it posed gave it some sense of mystical beauty. What was in it was just as awe-inspiring. This place was a century of research into medicine and renewable energy. Not even mentioning the robotic development and the rudimentary power armor studies that were on there, or that went on there. But the real treasure that was hidden and forgotten in the deepest parts, if I remember correctly, which means less and less as the years go by. My student Paul found it on a voyage around the facility. A still functioning, although quickly dying Zax computer. For those who don't know Fallout lore well, a Zax computer is basically the most super of supercomputers. These are computers that are so advanced they're bordering on gaining human sentience. Several of them have in lore, while some haven't. Actually, God, Fallout 2 has a wonderful detail you learn that many Zax computers, once they reach human-level intelligence, there was this fear that they would become like Skynet, so their intelligence was often capped, but whenever one of them broke the cap, they didn't go Skynet on us. They didn't decide to destroy humanity. They killed themselves. Because they realized they would never get to experience the pleasure of humanity and that they were basically just thinking slaves to people. They didn't want to live like that. The few we meet that have human sentience and didn't survived through finding purpose. Helping small settlements, rebuilding America, advancing technology. Every Zax computer that is still around and has human intelligence has a goal that it's reaching for. And I'm just going to go off on a tangent of, I feel like in Fallout we see two types of robots. Insane enemy robots, and robots that we can have conversations with and chill with. And then there's really a third type of ones that are repeating their menial pre-war job. I have a theory that robots have more intelligence than we give them credit for in Fallout. And what happens to them is the same thing that happens to ghouls. Parts of them start to wither away and break and rot, and that drives them to madness. Military robots start to have their higher functioning fall away, and soon only one base instinct stands: kill. But the robots that have something to care about, robots like Codsworth in Fallout 4, are just able to hold on to their sanity. But anyway, that was a tangent. I hope you understand now. We'll have to get back to the dome quickly, before the computer finally kills itself. Oh, well, just like I mentioned. And let me tell you, the last couple of decades haven't done anything to improve its condition either. Ain't that a kick in the head? Either prepare for the inevitable or Time was glorious for the computer until now. Well, we'll win 1 extra year to save the computer. It'll come with a high price, and we'll see that we'll need to pay later. What's that message in chat? Also, it looks like some of Violet's submod is leaking into the Iron Alliance, with that being the infestation of Costco. Okay. So yeah, there's 2 different mods affecting the Iron Alliance right now. As Tyrant King mentioned, that might be a weird thing to see, but won't cause any big problems. I like the song playing right now, it's kind of silly. Oh god. An extra year, but we'll get consequences. Let's go with Project Zax. The first one. Prepare for the inevitable. The last 2 decades went by faster than I ever could have expected. A generation has been grown up since. New young faces, both in our army and our scientific circle, dominate the baggers. We have been... I gotta skip this song. It feels distracting. I have the Balefire Blues music pack, as you can see, because this one doesn't get me copyright claimed. We've been preparing for our homecoming since then, gathering as many men as we could from the locals and stockpiled the necessary equipment as well. But we have waited too long. We have wasted too much time in our little pocket of Colorado. The land has become infested with ghouls, giving us an obstacle. Oh, you don't say. Give us an obstacle and a solution at the same time. The only question is, should we use our stockpile for our critical first push, or should we plan a bit farther ahead and use it in a long-term investment? We'll have to use what we have left, waste no more time, or we'll have to prepare for what lies before us. Gain an off-map workshop with more stability, or gain more war support and a stack of equipment. This event is major. You need to keep an eye on the Zax and decision tab. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try and keep an eye. I figured there would be some things made like that. I think a factory is better serving us in the long run. Put an end to the nightmare. Engineers tuned for war and pressing civilian works. Well, we've gotten quite a lot of groundwork laid out. We're going to take a short break. Those of you on Twitch, stick around because we're not done yet, but I'm going to break the recording there for the people on YouTube. Come back next week for more of this. I'm looking forward to seeing how this run goes. I'm already feeling like this is going to be a very cool narrative thing to go with. Like, it might even be a little bit cooler than the Vault Tech run we were doing, which I was loving the Vault Tech run. Sorry, slightly distracted by something on the side. Also get to the dome as fast as you can. Yeah, I had a feeling since that's where the Zax is. Our goal is going to be to try and claim the Boulder Dome again. Alright, but, this has been the start of the last expedition. I hope you've all been enjoying it, and I'll see you next week. Ta-ta!